But when I took on Bush on that issue, I never felt it was a bad thing to do because people that are smart know that the war in Iraq was a disaster. And even Jeb Bush in the end admitted that the war in Iraq was not a good thing.
New question, new subject. When are you going to release your tax returns?
Well, we're having them made. They're extremely complicated. It's going to take a little while. I don't know if you ever saw the picture I gave, but I gave you a picture with about 2.5 feet of tax returns standing in front of me as I was signing. They're having them done, and we'll do it at the appropriate time.
Well, reporters have been asking for months, and you keep saying the appropriate time. And, you know, I'm sure, I was going to say, you talk about your empire. I'm sure you have a ton of lawyers and a ton of accountants. Don't voters deserve to get a look at your finances, sir?
Oh, I think so. I've already given my financial statements more than anybody's ever
given.
No, but
the tax return.
And they turned out to be about 5 times greater than anybody ever thought. No debt, very little debt, tremendous cash flow, some of the greatest assets in the world, which is the thinking that our country needs to get rid of its $19 trillion, etc.
But the tax returns?
Deals. But I've given the tax returns at the appropriate time. There's no rush, at the appropriate time.
To use a business term, are you involved in a hostile takeover of the Republican Party?
No, I'm not at all. I get along with the Republicans. There's nothing hostile about it. I was a Republican establishment figure, and then the day I decided to run, I became an outsider, and more so than I even thought. People that were totally establishment, that loved me. You know, I was a very big contributor. I gave $350,000 just before to the Republican Governors Association.
But what's your view of the GOP establishment now, sir?
I think it's a mess. I think it's a mess. And I think they better get their act together because they're going to keep losing elections. With the kind of thinking that we have with the Karl Roves and the Stephen Hayeses and these characters that can't get themselves arrested, if you want to keep people like that, if you want to keep listening to people like that, you're never going to win. You're never going to win. They're from a different age. They're from a different world.
You raised the question again this week of whether or not you're going to honor your pledge, the loyalty pledge that you signed, to run as a Republican, and even if you lose, not to launch a third-party campaign. Is that a threat that you're going to keep wielding throughout this campaign?
No, because I want to run. It's asked by folks like you. You're bringing it up again as an example. No, the pledge is the pledge, but the other side is not honoring it. Look, I signed a pledge. I'm a Republican. I'm the leading Republican by a lot. And that's where I want to be. I don't want to run as an independent. I'm not going to be doing that. I think it's highly, highly unlikely. But I'm not being treated right. When we go to the debates, the room is stacked with donors and special interests. I'm self-funding my campaign. I'm putting up my money. I'm putting up millions and millions and millions of dollars, like throwing it out the window. So far, it's worked. So far, I'm also spending a lot less money than all these other people that are spending, you know, $100 million. And I'm leading by a lot, and they're losing by a lot. But I'm self-funding my campaign. I'm not controlled by special interests. I'm not controlled by donors. I'm not controlled by lobbyists, right? So I'm doing that. But the rooms are stacked. Every time I go to a debate, I walk in, it's like death. And when other people, I won't mention names, but when other people speak, they say something stupid, and they get standing ovations. It's very unfair what the RNC is doing. They're stacking the room, and that's unfair. With donors and special interests,